Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint-Germain family. A big, mouth-watering Champions League tie between number 1 and number 2. Paris Saint-Germain versus FC Bayern Munich in the UEFA Champions League. And as I always do for the big games, we're going to do a combined 11 between Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain 4-3-3 formation. Let's do this. For the goalkeeping position, we have Manuel Neuer from Bayern Munich and we have Lucas Chevalier from Paris Saint-Germain. Lucas Chevalier, if this was done last season, I would have given it to Lucas Chevalier, nominated for the La Yashin Trophy. And obviously, won league and goalkeeper of the season ahead of Gianluigi Donnarumma and was really good with Lille in the UEFA Champions League before they got knocked out. But we're making this now and we cannot hide about it. Chevalier has had a little bit of an uncomfortable start so far at Paris Saint-Germain, whilst Neuer has been as strong as the rest of the Bayern Munich players so far this season. He's probably kept a couple of clean sheets. I think Bayern have only conceded 2 goals in the UEFA Champions League, even though apart from Chelsea, they've had 2 easy games. But I'm still going to give it to Manuel Neuer, but Chevalier is right behind. And obviously, he's soon going to take that spot. But I'm going to give it to Manuel Neuer for the goalkeeping position. Moving on to the right back position, it's a bit weird because Leimer is officially the right back for Bayern, but obviously has been playing as a left back this season. But we're going to do this combined 11 out of if every single player was fit. So we're going to be including the Zididou in the nominations, Alphonso Davies, Jamal Musiala, Fabian Ruiz, Dembele, and all of that. Comes to the right back position, it's between Achraf Hakimi and Leimer. And obviously, Leimer is having a very similar season to, in terms of Achraf Hakimi, how he's tactically being used by Vincent Kompany. I see a lot of similarities how Kompany is using him in terms of the big chances created that Leimer is creating and so forth for Bayern Munich. So, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Leimer, with the start he's had and how good he's been so far for Bayern Munich this season. But, once again, we have to be honest with ourselves. Achraf Hakimi is clearly and by far the best right back of all time. And maybe Leimer is second so far this season or second in 2025 so far. But we gotta respect Achraf Hakimi, who probably last season had one of the best, if not the best, right back Champions League campaign we've ever seen. Achraf Hakimi takes the right back position. Moving on to the left back position. And what I always talk about Nuno Mendes being the best left back of all time that I've seen. I think he's better than Marcelo in terms of the completeness in his game. Marcelo going forward, better than Nuno. It's a debate. Or maybe you give it to Marcelo, but edges it. But defensively, just an entire game. In the midfield, just an entire game. Different game. And one player I sometimes see from Bayern fans like, no, but he's still better than Nuno. They mentioned Davies. Davies in 1920 maybe is the closest thing similarly to Nuno Mendes, but I still think it's a gap. And that now we're talking about peak Davies. We're not talking about the current Davies and so on. And yes, Davies has had uncomfortable injuries, missed a lot of big games from Bayern. He was not there in the Club World Cup. He was not there for the late Champions League knockout stages versus Inter. I think he was there for Leverkusen, but that's when he got injured. So, once again, gap. Nuno Mendes takes the left back position. Moving on to the 2 center back positions. The 4 nominations we have: Marquinhos and Pacho from Paris Saint-Germain, even though Zabarni has been cheeky so far this season. And from Bayern Munich is Dayot Upamecano and Jonathan Tah. Upamecano, a bit similar to the other players, was a little bit injured in the knockout stages. I think he missed both Inter ties, but obviously was there for the Club World Cup. Again, I think when it comes to the center back, it's a really easy one. The 2 players with the highest dual winning percentage so far this season is Dayot Upamecano and William Pacho. William Pacho was the best center back in the Champions League last season and has been usually, just continuing that upwards trajectory. So Dayot Upamecano and William Pacho take the 2 center back positions. Moving on to the midfield, 3-man midfield. And here are the nominations. We have Vitinha, João Neves, and Fabian Ruiz from Paris Saint-Germain. We have Jamal Musiala, Joshua Kimmich, and Pavlovic from Bayern Munich. And when I'm saying this, honestly, I want to be as nice and respectful as possible, but I think it's a full Paris Saint-Germain midfield. I think the one that obviously comes in contention is Kimmich. Kimmich, Bayern's best midfielder, you would think he would make this 11, but that's just my opinion. Whenever I've watched Bayern, especially in big games, I don't think Kimmich has reached that kind of impactfulness. As a Vitinha, as a João Neves, and as a Fabian Ruiz. So Vitinha, I guess Vitinha, Kimmich, give it to Vitinha. Pavlovic, João Neves, I give it to João Neves. And I would even pick João Neves ahead of Joshua Kimmich. And for the offensive 8 spot, despite him being injured, he's nominated Jamal Musiala versus Fabian Ruiz. And obviously, Musiala is still young, he got time in his career, but it has to be Fabian Ruiz to complete the midfield 3. Moving up until the attack. Bayern really strong in attack so far this season. I think Luis Diaz, Harry Kane, and Olise have contributed to like 40 plus GA already. And we just came into November. So they've been absolutely impeccable so far this season, that Tridents was. But Paris Saint-Germain suffered a lot of injuries, had a rough start offensively, especially in Ligue 1 so far this season. But I think it's somewhat easy picking the front 3. Even though Desiree Doué scored in the Club World Cup semi-final versus Bayern, he will have to hold out. Even though Khvicha Kvaratskhelia was absolutely impeccable that game, I still think he maybe needs somewhat to work on his consistency. I don't know. I think the 2 players are easy to say. It's Ousmane Dembele, Ballon d'Or. Harry Kane, potential Ballon d'Or. They make up the attack. Ousmane Dembele and Harry Kane. And then the last one, I think it's a debate between... The thing, Diaz has been very strong this season, but we're looking more than just so far this season. So put him to the side. And then it's Olise, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, and Desiree Doué competing for the last attacking spot position. I like all 3. I think all 3 are great players. Obviously, Desiree Doué has had a lot of injuries and so on, so I guess he will be the first one to leave. And then it's between Khvicha Kvaratskhelia and Olise. And honestly, I think Kvara is a better football player than Olise. Kvara has done bigger moments in the Champions League knockout stages. You know, everyone talks about, I've seen some Olise Yamal comparisons from Bayern fans, but just look at the Inter tie. Olise played both Inter ties. Yamal played both. And it was a huge difference. Kvara was Paris Saint-Germain's big Champions League knockout player. Signed him in January. Made so much impact. And so far this season has also been cooking in the UEFA Champions League. I think Olise, especially when it comes to the league, that's where he definitely clears Kvara, because Kvara, I don't know, in Ligue 1, it's like he's not motivated, he doesn't care, because the disparity between a Kvara and the UCL and in the league is absolutely huge. I can be respectful and give it to Olise. I can be honest and give it to Kvara. It's a tough one. You know what? Kvara. The thing, Kvara, he's such a big game player. Like, it's basically impossible for not having in the 11, but I rate Olise so highly. And obviously had a really great game versus Chelsea this season. You know what? It's really tight. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter as much. But I'm going to give it to Michael Olise to complete the front 3. And here we have the team in front of us. Manuel Neuer in goal. Achraf Hakimi is the right back. Nuno Mendes is the left back. Upamecano and Pacho is the 2 centre backs. A full Paris Saint-Germain midfield of João Neves, Vitinha, and Fabian Redondo Ruiz. And an attack of Harry Kane, Michael Olise, and Ousmane Dembele, Ballon d'Or. And how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3. Plus 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. 7 Paris Saint-Germain players. And 4 FC Bayern München players. We can end it as well on a managerial note. Vincent Kompany or Luis Enrique. Vincent Kompany. I need to say this for my own opinion and for myself. I was questioning the Vincent Kompany appointment. I remember I watched Bayern München versus Celtic, both legs, and I was not impressed. I was not impressed, and I thought it would take a long time before his Bayern looked like they should, how they should be looking like. But Vincent Kompany, I don't know, fooled me. I was wrong about Vincent Kompany because he's absolutely transformed Bayern into having the best start to a season ever with 15 out of 15 wins, scoring like 50 goals, conceding like 15 goals. It's been absolutely insane. Even in the Club World Cup, I mean, maybe the toughest game we've had was the game versus Bayern, managed by Vincent Kompany. So he's been impeccable, I think, for Bayern München. He's been absolutely insane. I mean, if you compare him to Mikel Arteta, 2 unexperienced managers that got 2, I mean, Bayern, obviously bigger club to manage than Bayern, and obviously Kompany had a little bit of experience at Burnley before coaching Bayern, unlike Arteta, who straight up came to Arsenal. But just look at the difference. And Kompany, I think, has dealt with a lot of pressure at the Bayern job. So I just want to give this nice gesture message to company because I think he deserves it, especially from my perspective, from my opinion. But obviously, the manager has to be Luis Enrique. Came into Paris Saint-Germain, won a domestic treble, took us to the Champions League semi-final. Season after, another domestic treble, nearly going unbeaten in the league, winning Paris Saint-Germain their first UEFA Champions League final, beating Inter Milan 5-0 in the Champions League final, and going all the way into the Club World Cup, including beating Vincent Kompany on the way. Won the UEFA Super Cup, and it started off the Champions League absolutely insane. Better than we ended it last year, or apart from the Inter tie. Started off with 3 victories, sitting first. So shout out to Vincent Kompany. Shout out to the Vincent Kompany project at Bayern Munich. But the manager, obviously, has to be Luis Enrique. And this fully completes my combined 11 of FC Bayern Munich and Paris Saint-Germain. This will be a very exciting game, and I can't wait to watch it. It's unfortunate that Jamal Musiala, Alphonso Davies are missing this game. Fabian Ruiz will most likely not start, and obviously Desiree Doué is out for this game. But that don't matter. No excuses for both fan bases. This is the best versus the second best. Obviously, maybe in Bayern fans' view, they are the best. In our view, we're obviously the best. Let's see who proves their point in this game. Paris Saint-Germain obviously has slight more advantages with the game being at the Parc. But honestly, I'm more confident when we go away than at the Parc under Luis Enrique so far. But that's been it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below, what's your combined 11 of Paris Saint-Germain and Bayern Munich? And let me know any pick you disagree with. That's been it from boy PSG. And as usual, allez, allez, allez Paris.